everybody, and welcome to the KC CHIROPulse Podcast, brought to you by Kats Chiropractic Consultants, helping chiropractors keep their pulse on success. I'm Dr. Michael Perusich. I'm joined in the studio, well, separate studios, but joined with my good friend, Dr. Troy Fox. Troy, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you doing today?
Fantastic. I see you got the ever-present supplements there in the background, always promoting good health.
You know, got to have the supplements ready at hand. I never know when I'm going to need a little bit more. So,
a little boost.
And patience for sure. It's kind of nice to always have some on hand. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
What kind of emails did we get this week? What are we talking about today?
I got a really good one, actually. So rather than telling you what the email says, because sometimes, I do that and then I just read it and, that sounds really boring. So let me ask you, do you know some girl named Kim Kardashian?
I've heard of her, yeah.
Heard of her. Some people, have you guys out there listening to us ever heard of Kim Kardashian? Sounds really familiar, right? So obviously,
famous.
Yeah, obviously what's she famous for though? Can you tell me that?
That's a great question. You see her everywhere. You hear her name all the time.
Right?
She's just ever present.
So I've always said she's famous for being famous.
There you go.
So, but what she's done is turned her ability to be famous for being famous into being an influencer. And I think we've all become familiar with that terminology, right? What an influencer is. And we see that with big beauty brands. We see it with clothing brands. And we've always seen it. We just never knew that it was an influencer where we have a TV star, movie star, because what we always used to see was people that were really big movie or TV stars that in their elder years would start selling life insurance. Joe Namath was pretty famous for selling some stuff. And I'm trying to think, the other day I saw Martin Sheen. He was selling, some healthcare thing or something.
Yeah.
And so these influencers, because people know that, hey, if that guy uses it, and I've seen him on TV for 40 years or whatever, but you know what? Even on a community level, we have influencers.
We do.
So, I think
that's very true.
So the question was, how do you identify influencers in your practice, and how do you utilize influencers in your practice? And I thought, what a great question, because the truth
that is a great question.
Yeah, truth of the matter is not cheating using influencers in your practice. It's smart to use the influential people in your practice. If they're happy with the product that you provide, they'll get the word out a lot faster than, I've got a couple of sweet little old lady patients that are almost 90 years old. They don't talk to a lot of people, but you know what? They love me and they love the care that they're getting, but they're just not going to tell the whole community on Facebook about me.
Right.
So what do you think about that? How do we attract influencers?
That's a great question.
And how do we deal with those influencers?
That's a great question. When you think about just marketing in general, Kim Kardashian, and you mentioned several. Tom Selleck, I saw the other night selling some kind of mortgage product.
That's right.
And that influencer marketing, you see on social media, especially all the time. And influencers have become a very important product, if you will, or manner in which you can get the word out in the community about what you sell, what you offer, what your services are about. So this is a great question. It's a deep question.
Yeah.
And we all have influencers in our practice, but if we don't recognize them, we're not going to be able to tap into the influence that person can have on your practice. And now that you bring it up, I can think of several that I have in my practice that, over the years have just brought in dozens and dozens of patients as a result of them going out into the community and talking about what we do in our practice. So
now, do they have to be the mayor or a state representative to be an influencer in your practice, or somebody that sells beauty products or whatever that knows everybody in town, or are there different types of influencers in your practice?
Yeah, good question. So first off, if you have obvious influencers in your practice, recognize them. And you just said it: the mayor, the county assessor, the political person, the president of the school board, those kind of people. Yeah, make
Right.
sure you recognize them. But you're right, there are other influencers. Maybe you treat somebody who's the president of the bank, the president of the largest corporation in town, the chairman of your local Boys and Girls Club, the president of the local college, or just a teacher even at the college. My gosh, they're in
Right.
front of all kinds of people every day.
Here's
So
another one I'll throw in there too, is
yeah,
somebody that, and this is completely almost 180. This is somebody that has had a lifelong injury that nobody's been able to help, and you
yeah,
help them. And I think if you've been in practice for a long time, we've all had one of those people.
oh yeah,
I'll call my guy Bob. But Bob literally laid on the floor for 10 years because he couldn't get up, couldn't walk, couldn't be weight bearing, came in to see me. And then we know the rest of the story. He's walking. And as a result of that, that guy couldn't keep his mouth shut. He was an
yeah,
automatic influencer, although he wasn't famous in the community. He wasn't a mayor. He wasn't somebody that had a large vocal population. But I'll tell you what, that guy got on his bully pulpit and went out there and told the world about what I did for him with chiropractic care. And, the amazing part of it was the chiropractic care and it was his body. And I just got to go along for the ride. But I think that's another influencer that we look at as well, as those miracle stories with their patients. Not that everybody's going to be a miracle. You almost want to tone that down a little bit because you don't want people coming in going, I want the
miracle
same thing.
session. Yeah.
I want the same thing that guy got. And you go, uh-oh. I don't know if I can reproduce that because we're not reproducing it. The body is. So
Right.
that's a good influencer, but that one needs to be tempered.
And you bring up a great point. I can remember I had I think this little girl was about 6 years old, and her mom was just frustrated to no end because the girl was a notorious bedwetter. Almost every night she was wet in the bed. They were washing the sheets every morning, and they'd been everywhere. They came in, long story short, chiropractic helped. The girl stopped wetting the bed.
Right.
The little girl was so excited that she took my business card and put it underneath her pillow every night, so I became the tooth fairy.
That's awesome.
But the mom went out and told absolutely everybody in town. All of a sudden, my phone's ringing off the wall with all these kids who are bedwetters. And
Yeah,
I
you can
started
have
getting whole families coming in as a result.
you had a pediatric / family practice almost overnight as a result of one person.
Yep.
Sometimes that's all it takes is one person to make your year or your decade. And especially if you handle it right. And we'll probably talk about that in a future podcast. But, those are important things, too, about how you handle those folks that come in. So once I identify those influencers that are in my practice, how do I approach them, Mike? I mean, okay, let's say we've got a state representative and we've also got a patient that had really good results. And maybe we have somebody that works at the beauty biz down the street, cuts hair, knows a lot of people. So how do we approach those three people? And what do we do with them?
Yeah, that's a great question. The person who has the miracle recovery, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
just tell them, just be frank with them. I build my business based on referrals. You've had a
Mm-hmm.
great experience with chiropractic care. Do me a favor, just please go out and tell people. Give me a
Yeah.
review on Google. Give me a review on Facebook. Say something on Facebook. Here's a few of my business cards. If you don't mind, just hand them out. Don't be
Right.
afraid to ask
I
the
love that
person to do it.
honesty. I love that honesty that you just portrayed with that, because that's not being afraid to tell people that my business is generated off of referrals. I love
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely awesome.
Then the politicians, they're easy. What can I do to help you? You've had a great experience in my
Mm,
practice. What can I do
yep,
to give back to you? You're
right.
feeling great now. You're getting ready to run a campaign for your office. What can I do to help you?
Yeah, yeah,
And they'll
great.
be beholden to you forever, and they will tell everybody about you. The local businessman who's kind of a hot shot in town, same
Mm-hmm.
thing. What can I
Mm-hmm.
do to help your business out? Did you know chiropractic care is great for your employees and helps them stay on the job longer, which increases productivity and
Mm-hmm.
less days off? Can I come in and do a couple of lunch and learns or a seminar for your
Mm-hmm.
office and your employees? Open those doors just by asking.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I think the points that you brought up there are very, very good, and we actually go more in depth with our clients and specifically talking about situations and how to get to that point. But
Yeah.
influencers are something that we now have in our practices. We always had them. We just didn't always realize that they were influencers back in the day. Sometimes we called them VIPs. Sometimes we're like, I know this guy won't keep his mouth shut if I get him better.
Right.
That was another word for influencer as well. Influencers have been around as long as chiropractic practices have been around. But what we're seeing nowadays is people are actually starting to identify them, and you can't ignore them anymore, because if you ignore someone or give bad service to an influencer, what happens, Dr. Perush?
They tell everybody about you and what they
Oh,
didn't like about you.
oh,
And in
yeah,
today's world, that's the person that goes on Google and gives you a bad review. And you want to try,
yeah.
obviously, you want to try to avoid that as much as you can. So,
Hmm.
make sure you treat everybody with that extra touch of customer service. But especially those influencers in town, make sure that you're producing an influencer who's telling a positive message about your practice.
Right. I think you made a good point there too. We're not telling you to give special services to your influencer. What we're saying is pay attention to all your patients, but make sure you pay attention to that influencer, because they could hurt your practice really badly. So if you're going to give even equitable service to all your patients, make sure you don't falter on that one patient that's an influencer. I think
Absolutely.
that's more of what we're saying. We're not asking you to set aside special time or to
No,
put that person on a pedestal by any
no,
means.
no, you don't need to give them free care or anything like that. Just
No.
treat them the same in that regard, but just make sure that they're leaving your office with positive impact, and they're
Hmm.
going to go out and tell good things about your practice. And I would sit down with your staff
Yeah.
and make a list of who are the influencers in your practice. You might be surprised how many you have.
Yeah. And you might be surprised at some of them that are influencers and you don't even realize it. And your staff goes, oh, yeah, she knows everyone in town,
Yeah,
or he knows
absolutely.
everyone in town. You see a lot of that. So,
Yeah,
yeah. Wow. That was, that is a topic that we could probably go on for
that's huge.
hours,
Yeah, that's
because
huge.
some of the coaching that we do with our clients, so far as things that they need to do in their practices, go way more in depth into that
We
at
do.
Kats. And we love doing this. It's actually kind of the fun part of marketing, and it ties into digital marketing and Facebook marketing and Instagram and all that. But it's just such a fun and robust portion of the marketing that doesn't really require you to go out and do any of you don't have to stand with a sandwich board on the side of the street telling everybody you're giving away your services, and that's what I love about it. It's just a
Right.
very organic way to promote your practice.
And it will build your practice probably faster than about anything.
I would agree. I would
And it
agree.
costs you nothing. It's just asking. It's just talking to people. It's building relationships with the right people in your community, and your practice will explode.
Yeah. I'm thinking if you're listening to this today, you already feel smarter and more successful.
I feel good about it.
I do too. I think it's great. I
This is
love
a
talking
great
about that.
topic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoever out there sent that question in, love it. Great question. So
Yep.
I hope everybody can get some benefit out of that. And if you want to dig deeper into this kind of a topic and other ways to build your practice, getting new patients and those kind of things, give us a shout. katsconsultants.com. We're happy to plug in and see if we can help you.
And if you have other questions, Troy at katsconsultants.com.
Shoot him your questions.
Yeah, shoot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you got some question, I love all the questions that I get. There's a couple that are a little off the board that I'm like, I don't know how to answer that one. But the majority of the questions are just fantastic. And I love answering other people's questions, because that way I know what you guys are thinking.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Troy, very good. That was an awesome conversation. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, to KC CHIROpulse Podcast, brought to you by Kats Consultants, helping you keep your pulse on success. Be sure to check us out at katsconsultants.com. And from all of us here at Kats Consultants, stay informed and well adjusted.
See ya.